Daphni Cherry album review. Let's chat about it. Hey friends, what's going on? John here from What's Spinning here tonight to chat about this latest album from Daphni, one of the many monikers of Mr. Dan Snaith, aka Caribou. And over the years, Dan's put out work under like half a dozen names, but as far as his side projects go, for a while, Daphni was easily my favorite thing that he was doing under outside the Caribou name. Jialong, that came out in 2012. It's not a perfect album, but it is a really well-crafted IDM and electronic record, and it's my kind of electronic record. Really solid sample work, very eccentric sample work, I should say, and just really solid grooves all around. He also followed that up shortly after with a mixtape that I thought was really cool as well. But then when 2017's Jolie Mai came around, I was severely let down with the project. Instantly we went from something that was really enjoyable from start to finish to something that was pretty painfully bland, and especially in modern progressive synth. Now, it has been quite a while since he's recorded under this name, but I got really excited listening to the singles leading up to this album. I thought they were some of the better dance singles that I've heard all year, honestly, and truthfully, I think Daphni knocked it out of the park with this project. This album starts off with Arrow, and right off the bat, I love the icy beat and the serious groove. 30 seconds in, and I can already tell you that this is the best thing that Dan has done under the Daphni name since the debut of this project. It's tense and a little rigid, but man, does it ever go hard. And the very busy synths that are, sort of populating the background of this track are a really nice touch as well. If you're a fan of Dan's work or a fan of IDM or tech house from any generation, you're gonna want to hear this. Then we get Cherry, this album's title track. It is so good. It's very brisk, it's light on the ears, but it's also super fun, and I don't know, just really well detailed as well. But I really wouldn't expect anything less from Dan. The guy is a wizard and has done so many cool things in the electronic realm, but what really hits it home on this track, for me at least, is the progression. This track builds so well. The heavier synths that eventually pop in are a great touch, and even though this track is just about 6 minutes long, it's warranted. Crimson is a little bit more old school sounding, but it's very quirky, has a lot of personality. And as far as a banger goes, this isn't the biggest one here. This really does take its time, adding in instrument by instrument. But from a technical stance, I can't look away. It's pretty mesmerizing. Falling, on the other hand, is exactly how you do a short interlude on an album like this. This is a freaking smooth, sort of lo-fi new disco track with some really fantastic production tricks. It's short, it's sweet, but it's a great interlude and it keeps the groove going. And Mania picks things up to a little bit more of, a pretty standard banger from the project. It's a very whimsical sort of new disco-inspired track that, gets you toe-tapping. It is so much fun. Honestly, this is easily some of the best electronic and dance that I've heard all year. It definitely got me up and grooving, and the best part about it is it doesn't sit still either. And the retro-tinged production on this, classy touch, Dan. There are a few moments on this album that don't kind of gel with me. Always There is definitely one of them. This is a needlessly heady track that is just on the verge of just being annoying. This is overall such a well thought out and detailed album, but then I hear this and I get the feeling that Dan just kind of threw this together in 5 minutes, and while it's only 3 minutes and 42 seconds, it feels like 13 minutes and 42 seconds. Art blocks is just unnecessary. This is just like 1-0 Point Never Worship. Dan is just so much better than this. And Car Plus is just unnecessary. This is just filler. This is filler. And that's upsetting to me because just outside of that, this album is exactly what I wanted in an electronic album right now. For a deep cut, look no further than Take 2. Holy hell, is this ever groovy and funky and fresh. It partly sounds like a disco reworking, it partly sounds like it would have been great on the Sonic Adventure 2 soundtrack. But right now, I needed something upbeat and heavy hitting, and that is what this is. I love the vocal sample, I love the string sample, this is where I want to hear Dan. Moda is another very fun, cleanly produced, sort of jittery dance track, and it does the trick. My toes tapping once again, and you can argue that this track and maybe another two as well are a little safe for Dan, but man, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Clavicle's one of the best tracks here. It's definitely a journey, too. This is one of the more pensive, more progressive, sort of psychedelic tracks. It's got cosmic synths. It's got really fantastic production tricks. This is great. And I love how whimsical and otherworldly this comes off, and super playful as well. It's the perfect risk for Dan on this album, and Cloudy is, I think, the track of the album, and a great single. This is my kind of electronic track. Heavy use of samples, vocals and otherwise, tied to a groove, and it's just rolling. It continues to be very whimsical, airy, and sweet on the ears. Just so colorful and vibrant, and you know what? It overstays its welcome, too, to an extent. I mean, it's a 7-minute track, but man, it breezes by, and it's so fun. It's formless and free-spirited, but it's also technically proficient. Amber is freaking, like, home for me, man. This reminds me of some of his earliest releases. I love all the sample use here, and the beat is simple but really effective. It also gives nods to all the influences that Dan has, and I always love to hear that. And Fly Away as a finale is equal parts free-spirited and just fun. And Fly Away is equal parts free-spirited and just also unapologetically retro-sounding. This one builds so well. It's all about progression once again, and I love when Dan gets in that mindset. It just ties things up in a super groovy way. I'm loving so much of this album. I think I like this better than the last Caribou album, and I loved that thing. Honestly, Dan takes things back to basics and puts out a really fun, vibrant, colorful, free-spirited electronic and tech house and IDM album, and I haven't heard a lot of great stuff in that all year, and this is certainly up there. Yeah, there's a few tracks that don't gel with me, but overall, this is a very proficient and consistent tape with serious grooves, great production, and awesome use of sample work. Feeling a decent 8 on this album, but let me know what you all think down below. If you like the video, be sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe, and let me know down below what you would like for me to chat about in the future. And until next time, have a great day, friends.